Welcome to Live Longer Simplified, where I share easy-to-understand tips for living a longer and healthier life. In this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about dopamine and how to use it for motivation in your daily life. So, you've probably heard about dopamine before, right? It's a special chemical that your brain releases when something exciting or rewarding happens, like when you win a game or eat your favorite dessert. It makes you feel awesome and motivated to keep doing whatever caused it to show up. It's like your brain saying, "Hey, that felt great, let's do it again." People usually refer to those moments of excitement or pleasures as dopamine hits. But here's the thing, there's no magic hit of dopamine like you might get from a favorite song or a delicious treat. Instead, our bodies use dopamine in a more steady, consistent way. Think of it like the background music of your brain. A baseline level of dopamine that's always playing, influencing how you feel overall. Whether you're feeling good, motivated, or just cruising through the day, this baseline level keeps things ticking along. But here's where it gets interesting. Sometimes we get these bursts of dopamine that shoot above our baseline level. Basically, it's like having fireworks go off in your brain, creating moments of intense pleasure or excitement. Now, you might think that these dopamine fireworks would make you feel even better, right? But here's the twist. After the fireworks die down, your baseline dopamine level actually drops. It's like the music suddenly gets quieter after the big show. This interaction between baseline dopamine and these bursts of excitement is super important. They work together to shape how we feel and how motivated we are to tackle life's challenges. And let me tell you, dopamine isn't just about pleasure. It's also about motivation, drive, and even time perception. It's like the fuel that powers your engine, keeping you moving forward and focused on your goals. But here's the catch. When things go wrong with dopamine, it can have some serious consequences. Take diseases like Parkinson's, where there's a depletion of dopamine in certain parts of the brain. This can lead to shaky movements, challenges in speaking, and even drops in mood and motivation. The good news is that with proper treatment, people can often regain some of their movement and mood. It's like getting the engine of your brain back in gear, helping you feel better and more motivated to tackle life head-on. So the next time you hear about dopamine, remember, it's not just about pleasure. It's about powering your brain, shaping your emotions, and keeping you moving forward in life. It's the ultimate brain booster, and understanding how it works can help you go through life's ups and downs with confidence. You might be wondering what exactly can give your dopamine levels a boost. First, remember that everyone has their own baseline level of dopamine. It's like your personal happiness setting. It varies from person to person, influenced by genetics and life experiences. So, when you do certain things or consume certain substances, your dopamine levels can shoot up above that baseline. But how much they go up and for how long depends on what you're doing. Take chocolate, for example. It can bump up your dopamine levels by 1.5 times. That's like giving your brain a little happiness hug. But the buzz doesn't last long, just a few minutes. Now onto something a bit spicier, sex. Whether you're chasing after it or in the middle of it, dopamine levels can double. Yep, you heard that right. It's like your brain is throwing a dopamine party. Smoking can skyrocket your dopamine levels by 2.5 times above baseline. No wonder smokers keep lighting one after another. Now, there are other forbidden bad boys that can skyrocket your dopamine levels, some doubling them and others pumping them up 10 times higher than usual. But beware, those highs are short-lived and can come with some serious consequences. And obviously what I enjoy the most, exercise. This can also give your dopamine levels a boost. If you love going for a run, your dopamine levels can double just like with sex. But if you're not a fan of exercise, well, your brain might not get as big of a dopamine kick out of it. Here's where it gets interesting, though. Your thoughts and attitudes can also play a big role in how much dopamine you get from certain activities. Let's say you hate running, but you find one thing you enjoy about it. Maybe it's the feeling of accomplishment after a tough session. Focusing on that positive aspect can actually increase your dopamine levels. But here's the catch. If you're only in it for the reward afterwards, like treating yourself to a snack after a workout, it might actually backfire and dampen your dopamine response to exercise. My recommendation is that it's all about finding joy in the process, not just the outcome. Now let's talk about one of the most popular American beverages, coffee. I'm sure many of you are sipping on your favorite caffeinated beverage right now, like me, while making this video. Does caffeine give you a dopamine boost like chocolate? Well, not quite. It does increase dopamine levels, but not as much as some of the other things we've talked about, like sex or those bad substances. But here's where it gets interesting. There's this research that found something pretty neat about caffeine. Turns out, regular caffeine intake actually makes you experience more of dopamine's effects. Ever noticed how some people used to pair a cigarette with their morning coffee? That's because different substances and behaviors can team up to give your dopamine levels an even bigger boost. Just know that while it might feel great to boost your dopamine levels with caffeine and other stimulants, relying on them too much can backfire. You see, constantly chasing those dopamine highs can actually mess with your natural dopamine system, leaving you feeling unmotivated and low on energy. So while the occasional pre-workout or cup of coffee before hitting the gym can be quite useful, it's important not to rely on them too heavily. Balance is key, my friends, because when it comes to dopamine, it's not just about the peaks, it's about maintaining a healthy baseline too. You probably also have heard that our brains are getting a hit of dopamine when texting, snapping selfies, or scrolling through social media, and that is true. Like I said earlier, dopamine is like your brain's happy juice. It makes you feel good. But when we're constantly bombarding our brains with phone time, it can mess with our dopamine levels, lowering our baseline levels, which makes us feel kind of meh. Let me give you an example from my own life. I used to be really into drawing, but I noticed that whenever I brought my phone into the room with me, my creative flow just wasn't the same. I'd find myself constantly checking messages, scrolling through social media, and before I knew it, hours had passed without any real progress on these videos. It was like my brain was craving those quick dopamine hits from my phone, and it was taking away from my passion for drawing. So, I decided to make a change. I made a rule for myself. No phones allowed in the workspace. At first it was tough. I'd catch myself reaching for my phone out of habit. But as I got into the flow state without distractions, I started to make progress. Without the constant interruptions, I was able to focus more deeply on my art, and it felt incredibly rewarding. Now, what you are watching is a result of this process, a true masterpiece. Now, seriously, I know it's not easy to break the phone addiction, but trust me, it's worth it. By giving your brain a break from all those dopamine spikes, you can actually start enjoying the things you love again. So next time you're tempted to reach for your phone during a workout or any other activity, try putting it away and see how you feel. Who knows, you might just rediscover the joy of being present in the moment. Now, we all know that hard work isn't exactly a walk in the park. Most of us do it because we're aiming for some sort of reward at the end of the tunnel. Rewards are great. They can be anything from a pat on the back to a shiny trophy. But here's the catch. Relying too much on rewards can actually make the hard work feel even harder. Let me tell you about this interesting experiment from Stanford. So, there were these kids who loved drawing pictures. They did it just because they enjoyed it. But then, the researchers started giving out gold stars as rewards for their drawings. At first, the kids were excited to get those shiny stars, but here's the twist. When the researchers stopped giving out stars, the kids stopped drawing altogether. It's like the promise of a reward made drawing feel less fun, and without the stars, they lost interest in the activity completely. So what's the deal with rewards and dopamine? When you work hard for a reward that comes later, you're basically stretching out the time between effort and payoff. And the longer you wait for that reward, the less pleasure you get from the activity itself. It's like your brain starts to think, hey, I'm only doing this for the reward, not because I enjoy it. But here's where it gets interesting. You can actually train your brain to find pleasure in the effort itself. It's called cultivating a growth mindset, and it's all about embracing the journey, not just the destination. Instead of focusing solely on the reward at the end, try to find joy in the process of working hard. Sure, it might be tough at first, but with practice, you can start to associate effort with its own little dopamine boost. Here's how it works. The next time you're faced with a challenging task, tell yourself that the effort is the reward. You may just call me crazy at this point, but trust me, it works. By rewiring your brain to find pleasure in effort, You'll not only enjoy the journey more, but you'll also become more resilient and motivated in the long run. This might just be the secret you were looking for to unlock your full potential and achieve your goals without burning out along the way. Here are 3 quick tips to boost your dopamine levels and keep your motivation high in everyday life. Exercise is a fantastic way to naturally increase dopamine levels. Even just a short walk or some light stretching can do wonders for your mood and motivation. Personally, I like to run at least 10 minutes every day. Your diet plays a big role in dopamine production. Foods rich in protein like chicken, fish, eggs, and nuts can help boost dopamine levels. Also, don't forget about healthy fats found in avocados, olive oil, and fatty fish like salmon. A good night's sleep is essential for maintaining healthy dopamine levels. Aim for 7-9 hours of quality sleep each night to recharge your brain. Thanks for watching. I hope you found it helpful and learned something new. Please let me know in the comments below your feedback about this video and what you'd like to see more of on this channel. Consider subscribing if you found this helpful. See you.